Hello, Shannon here for the second week of my journey with breast cancer. Um, really not due, the video is really not, I guess, till Tuesday, but another busy week ahead. I'm done with my last surgery, so my social life is picking back up. So I have a few things going on this week. The next topic I wanted to talk about was how I told people. Um, some were obviously by phone call because I live in Tennessee and the family is not here. Um, some was in person. Some was in email because, like here in Tennessee, I have my LSU friends, and there were just too many to tell. So, and we're all good friends, so I lumped it in one big email. Um, that's my Martini here, my cat. She's not happy with me. I've been gone for 2 days. I thought I would come back last night after we had a Friendsgiving and I had a baby shower, but I didn't make it back till this morning. Um, you can also hear the dishwasher and the dryer going because I haven't been home. I also have the Saints game on while watching the Titans on TV. Um, so, of course, the first phone call was to my mom. I was still crying from Vanderbilt calling me. And that was tough, telling her. And of course, I'm crying and boohooing at the same time. She did not cry with me on the phone. She then went to my stepdad, who was home. He had a neck fusion, so he was home in bed, and she told him. Um, the next phone call was one of my good friends, because her mother had cancer 3 times. The first time it was breast cancer, and then it just kept coming back in different parts of her body. And she did pass away about 3 years ago. So she was the second one I called, just because she could relate, and she was devastated. She just not what your friend wants to hear, obviously. The next one was my boss, just because I had missed appointments. I had, a biopsy and an MRI, so I was missing. Um, so I had to tell her what was going on because I had to take time off and such. Um, and she was my first hug because, like I said, everybody is out of state. And she was just in complete awe. She shook her head and then stood up and gave me a hug. Um, from then on, it was friends. Oh, Friday, you want to go for happy hour? And I would tell them at happy hour. I'd wait till they got about 2 or 3 drinks in, and then told them, or I go to dinner and tell them after dinner. Um, in each, everybody's emotions were different. Some were like, "You're gonna kick this." Some had a look of just pure devastation on their face. I do know a couple of my friends went home and cried after. Um, they did not do it in front of me. They did it at home and told me like months later, I cried. I'm sorry, so did I. Um, had one, didn't tell the Facebook world. Um, hang on, we have a timer. Did not tell the Facebook world because there's 700 people on there, and they're not my close friends or family. Many from high school, but it just wasn't the time or the place to tell them at that point. I needed to deal with it, on my own, and I still had family members to get to. I had one of my best friends, her and I got into an argument last August, and I hadn't really spoke to her. And her oldest is my godchild, and my mom said you have to tell them. And so I hadn't spoke to her, and I wasn't calling her, unfortunately. So I emailed her. We have spoken since. We'll move through that because there's bigger fish to fry than an argument about a photo on Facebook. Um, I do come across people now that can tell something is going on, and some just ignore it, and then some kind of inquire. And so I'm okay to talk about it now. Before, I was moving through all the motions, and I didn't feel like telling the story because, um, you know, just not the time or place. Um, I hear little stories of other folks sharing their stories. Um, I feel that some of my friends who have had parents or a sibling um, or someone close to them pass away, I felt like through all this they had a little bit more compassion. Um, those just showed it in a different way by coming to take me to dinner when I couldn't drive, or just bring me things or food or whatnot. Um, you'll realize who your true friends are. I've had a few guy friends that I have not seen or heard from, and the excuse is the body part because it's my breast. That's complete BS. I have one goofy friend, although he is a doctor, who actually moved back to Louisiana, but he has been back to Tennessee a couple of times, and he makes a point to come over here or call me up and we go have coffee or beer. And he's the quirkiest of them all. And he doesn't care that it's a body part. We're friends, and something crappy happened to one of his friends. So you'll see who your true friends are. I have worked for a company that did business in 7 states, and I work with a lot of attorneys and insurance adjusters. And now I work for a company that is basically in like 40 states. So you talk to these attorneys all the time. They handle your claims. They become almost like a work friend. And so I got this in the mail today, so I wanted to share it. It's an attorney in Alabama. My current company does not have anything in Alabama, otherwise I'd probably use his office. So I got this letter in the mail, and I have to, just talking about, he heard my news from a friend of mine at my old job, and that his mother succumbed to breast cancer in 2002, and he made this shirt. It has his law firm name on the front, but it has his motto on the back. So he had shirts made to keep his mom's legacy going. So I thought that was very nice. I almost cried. Almost. Friend of mine said he called it there, and they were talking to my old employer, and he asked how I was, and she's like, well, and so he sent me that. I've had, other lawyers that I worked with reach out to me, or they see my name. I'm going to a workers' comp conference, and they've reached out to me, or some of them are on the old Facebook, and they've reached out to me. You just spend a lot of years. I was at my old employer for 7 years. So, I talked to him almost every day because he had a lot of my claims down there in Alabama. I called, once I got that, I called my aunt and told her what I got in the mail, and she goes, you don't even know it, but you're touching other people's lives. And I was like, don't get all mushy, because I'm not mushy. But Um, so this week's topic was just basically how I told people. And I read an article the other day that some people don't even tell anybody. They just tell like their husband, their mom, or one friend, and that's it. I'm single. I have a very active social life. I actually just had a friend who I can't remember, it was a Hopkins or non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and so she was able to get away with not telling anybody. She told me like after everything was done, even though I already knew something was up. But I had to have major surgery, had to have chemo. She didn't lose her hair, so nobody was really hot on her trail. So she was able to kind of keep it, um, just her, few people at work, and her husband. And I thought I could go that route, but then when I realized I was going to be out of work for 6 weeks, my friends would probably, put me, on the missing persons list. So I had to tell my friends. Um, I'm also single, and so I don't really have the support of a husband or a boyfriend. So I had to lean on my friends a lot. Um, and so it just depends on,